interview with Shadore, and then Pittsburgh, for sure. Cleveland, by trading down, told you they may get a backup, but they're going to get their starting quarterback next year. Well, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette writer yesterday told Rich Eisen that the Steelers were not looking at Shadore Sanders. They were looking at backups. Like the LA Rams, the Steelers and Rams, this is what I told you. I didn't buy the Rams, wanted Jackson Dart. They were interested. They thought Jackson Dart was interesting, but the Steelers, the Rams, the Browns, next year is the year they want the quarterback. This was a backup quarterback draft. So that's more information on Shadore. Pittsburgh was never in the starting quarterback market. They wanted to get the roster ready for Aaron Rodgers, draft a backup. That's why Aaron Rodgers kind of took their word for it, but wanted to wait. But let me just say this. Can we stop with this narrative? It's the worst take and narrative happening in sports now. You know, the NFL just doesn't know what they're doing with quarterbacks. Timeout. Let me tell you first-round quarterbacks currently in the NFL. Mahomes, Lamar, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Stafford, Jaden Daniels, Aaron Rodgers, C.J. Stroud, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Kyler Murray. Oh, by the way, Baker and Sam Darnold. Not to mention, Drake May looks really good. Bo Nix looks really good. Caleb Williams is really talented. That doesn't even count the Pro Bowler Tua, who I'm not a huge fan of. Almost all. Jalen Hurts fell to the second. Yeah, he got benched in college. He had to transfer. He's smaller than average and still not a great pocket quarterback if you listen to Greg Cosell, who I trust. The truth is, in my life, overwhelmingly, Bradshaw, Aikman, Peyton, Marino, overwhelmingly, Mahomes, Lamar, they've all been first-round picks. It's not easy to do this, but stop making Shadore and Deion Sanders the victim here. They're not. It's all really explainable. Shadore didn't hire an agent. Big mistake. He just listened to his dad. Bigger mistake.
Yeah. Okay. So before I kind of really unpack this, because I was actually 100% going to skip this, and then I just kind of had this aha moment, because I told you guys, I don't really want to keep covering Shadore Sanders and all this conversation, all this conversation. Like, we had kind of the more, like, take a step back, more kind of like, overarching conversation about all the coverage of Shadore and all of that. And then, I watch all these shows like you do, and I see, that they're still covering Shadore nonstop because it's a gravy train, man, right? It's people just want to talk about him, and they're talking about, like, will he start with the Cleveland Browns? What are the chances that he starts? And it's just like, it's still a million segments every single day. And when I made my last Shadore video, I said, like, guys, I'm not doing this anymore. But I wanted to make one more video here and just ask you guys straight up, like, do you want me to still cover this? Do you want me? Because I realized, I was like, well, if this is still a talking point and other people are interested in having this conversation, like, if I'm just ignoring a still incredibly popular sports story just because I don't think it's a real story or holds real value, like for instance, when they were having a conversation about will Shadore start for the Cleveland Browns, it's like, that's not a real conversation to me. That's just not, like, to me, that is just like, Shadore is really popular. We just keep wanting to feed this Shadore train here. And it's just like, I want to talk about things that are, like, real. And if we're going to talk hypotheticals, then, like, I'd rather go back to the hypotheticals of how many Super Bowls would Josh Allen have with Andy Reid or something. Like, that's a little bit more fun and interesting to me. But at the same time, like I just said, I don't want to ignore a story or something popular, something that people either want to hear my thoughts on it, or they just kind of want to unpack it or have discussions about it still. So I just really wanted to kind of, I literally just sat down, had no idea I was going to make this clip right now. And I was like, oh, you know what? Let me actually just ask everyone, like, what do you guys want? Do you want to keep covering this? Do you want to keep talking about it? Or do you kind of agree with me in the side of just, like, let's kind of move on? And again, let me just be clear, for anything like that actually matters, right? Like it comes out in the off season during preseason, Shadore is impressing people, or, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm just going to, like, not cover him at all, but I just mean, like, all of these other stories, like another story like this, right? Steelers wouldn't draft Shadore at any point. It's like, okay, like, and that's what's kind of hard for me. It's like, I guess that is a story, but, like, again, does it really matter at this point? So I'm still kind of wrestling with it. I'm just trying to avoid the whole, let's talk about Shadore every single day, all day. Did teams make a mistake passing on Shadore? Was Deion the problem? Will he start? The chances of him starting next season for the Cleveland Browns, like, will he be QB2 or QB3? Can he beat out Kenny Pickett? Like, Again, unless it really becomes like a true, real conversation with like actual weight behind it, I'm just like, it just feels like we're kind of forcing something that's not quite there, or we're just going to keep rehashing the same thing again and again and again. And quite frankly, we already struggle with that during the offseason anyway, right? Like from this point on to like the actual preseason, it's like, how many more times can we talk about like the Washington Commanders are going to be better and Philadelphia Eagles are looking to repeat? Like it's already so repetitive, but at least it's built off of reality. And so I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. So I figured, you know what, let me just make a video like this and just ask you guys straight up. Because in terms of this right now too, it's just like, I look at this and it's like, okay, the Steelers wouldn't draft Shadore at any point, right? Like that was their conclusion. And I do think Colin brought up a good point, because there is this feeling that, people get the draft wrong a lot, especially with quarterbacks. And yeah, we know there's some stories of Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson and Jalen Hurts and Tom Brady. And Tom Brady's obviously not in the NFL right now. And so I think realistically, like the only true starting quarterbacks right now that weren't in the first round, I think are really just Dak, Jalen, and Russ. I think that's pretty much what it is. And I'm sure there's probably a couple other names I just can't think of off the top of my head, but like the vast majority obviously are first round quarterbacks. And it proves that very more often do teams draft a quarterback in the first round that ends up not being a great quarterback. That happens more regularly than them drafting a great quarterback in the later rounds, right? Like that, it's a little bit more easy to be deceived thinking this guy will be great rather than thinking this guy isn't great and then he ends up being great. So it's kind of like an asymmetrical type of observation that we view within the NFL. And so I think it is worth pointing out. And again, it's doesn't mean that Shadore can't have success in the NFL, and it's not to say, he's going to fail, but it's just like, it is something worth noting. And, last thing I'll say is like, I'll agree. Shadore and Deion are in no way victims here. But again, I don't have any type of desire to like keep unpacking that over and over and over again. So I'm going to remain true to what I said before. I've already kind of hampered my coverage of Shadore throughout this whole offseason, and I'm going to continue to do so. But I did realize, like, let me just ask you guys straight up, like, is that what you want? You want to talk about other stuff? Do you still want to talk about Shadore, even any of the conversations that are being had? Does that still interest you? Just because it doesn't interest me doesn't mean it doesn't interest you. So let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.